In the 70s, Elvis Presley made this song famous during his Hawaii concert. And though I'm not going to have him singing it because of the crapo called YouTube copyright, I'm going to sing it myself. And whether or not they say, oh, you can't use that, I say, on you. Oh, I wish I was in the land of cotton. Old times there am not forgotten. Look away, look away, look away, Dixieland. And of course, he had his own group to sing the chorus. But this song is actually written by Daniel Emmett. He is known for having written the song. He was a military, or he was a minstrel show company songwriter, and he wrote it actually in 1859, of all places in New York. And it says he intended it to be a closing number because it permitted a parade of the entire company. The song became an immediate hit. Many publishers printed their own versions. But the original first stanza was that. It says, when Abraham Lincoln ran for the presidency in 1860, Dixie was used as a campaign song against him. 5 years later, after the Civil War, he asked a band at the White House to play Dixie. So this not in any way is it actually a song that was sung by the Confederate Army during that time, but I would say probably they did sing it because it was actually published before the beginning of the Civil War in 1863. This video is really to tell those who are Southerners that your grandparents, great-grandparents fought for something they believed in, and that the Northerners, they have been feeling like we've got to go down and reteach these people how to live. And if you lived during the 70s or the 80s, you knew that we're not going to just bury ourselves in a cave when somebody tries to be hypocritical or tries to put us down about our heritage, because whether or not the blacks think they have power, whether they think that they can subjugate people now that somehow or another they have this supernatural power or ability to take over the world, the fact of the matter is people are still individuals. And if we don't stand up for what we believe in, then basically your ancestors and mine all fought for nothing, because we stood for something in the South because we believed in what we were fighting for, and that was primarily not because of slavery. People believed that it was about slavery. It was not about slavery. The Confederacy fought against the North because it was a indirect egotistical attitude that one particular part of the country was better than the other because of how they lived, their lifestyles. And Civil War really gained power and strength because the northern states used the propaganda that there was slavery only in the South, and that was a total lie. There was slavery in the North too. And that's one thing they don't talk about in these heated debates that go on right now about the neo-Nazis are here, the white nationalists, the KKK, all of these people. And I contest to this day that the blacks are no better themselves, because anybody can remember back last year in Ferguson, Missouri, and in Baltimore, Maryland, the blacks were shooting police officers in the streets. They were burning cars. And that is one thing the media will not ever bring up in those stories that they talk about on television. They will never bring up the fact that the blacks are as responsible for the hatred that they not only project towards other people, but the fact that it is not held accountable under our laws for what they do. When President Trump went on television and only denounced these groups, which the blacks obviously kept overemphasizing in the reports, there was an absolute silence of the other groups that were there on the other side of the fighting. that it was the Black Lives Matter, it was these other black groups, and they were the ones who were fighting just as much as the KKK, just as much as the other groups that were there at that time. And I contest, and I always will contest, that if you don't hold Black Lives Matter liable for their hate and for the violence they caused, then you are a hypocrite of history, because people must be held accountable no matter what color they are. It doesn't matter what they do. Because you're black, it does not mean that you have exclusion from the law to do whatever you want. And the media will not, and Obama's the same way. When he was president, he would never say the word ISIS. He would never say the word radical. And the media carries on that whole philosophy. They will not discuss, they will not talk about what the Black Lives Matter group was about. It was a cult, because when they shot people in the streets, when they looted and vandalized and burned buildings, what did Obama say? Oh, it's just their culture. You have to accept it. Well, I'm sorry, but that's not an excuse. They'll tell you that in a courtroom of law. Ignorance is no excuse for the law, and it also applies to people who are black or of other cultures. You are as responsible for your actions as a white person or anyone else, and you are not excluded because of your race or because of your color, or because of the fact that your ancestors could have been slaves. I got news for you. I'm white, and my great-great-grandfather came here from Ireland as an indentured servant. Do you know what an indentured servant is? That's somebody who committed a crime, and he had to serve a certain amount of time under servitude to someone else. And that's no different than being a slave, because you still had to uphold what that other person told you to do. And that's why this whole thing about the Confederacy and about all of this crap the blacks keep bringing up is an absolute farce. It's just as fake news as what they keep talking about Trump having relationships with the Russians. It's crap. It's horse manure. It's anything and everything you want to say, but it is not true fact to history. And that's the point of why I made this video today. So for any hypocrite who says, oh, it's about this, that, or the other, you should get back in your history books again and look up what it was about initially during the first moments when the Civil War began. It was about egotistical feelings between two different parts of the United States. It was not about slavery.
Go. I say go away. You bother me.